I have done 10,000 miles on this MT-03 in just 9 months, and like most people, I thought this would just be a stepping stone bike, like something you'd outgrow. But I've done everything from motorways, B roads, commutes, and even a 1,300 mile trip to John O'Groats. I still choose to ride this every single day. So here's why the MT-03 is more than just a beginner bike and something that keeps delivering long after you've learnt the basics.
So what surprised me about the MT-03 was probably just the power of it. You know, you'd be thinking it's a 321cc bike, it's not really going to be that fast, but it packs quite a punch. It's 41 horsepower. I think it's got a decent amount of torque as well. But like, for example, like pulling off in fourth, like it does it like it's nothing, look. And I think that's just what makes the MT-03 so special. It looks like a small bike, but it just doesn't perform like one at all. So, moving on to highways, or as we call them here, motorways. A question everyone wants to know is, can these small displacement motorcycles handle things like the motorway? So yeah, here we are, cruising on the motorway, 6th gear, about 7,000 RPM, and you know, it feels comfortable, it's not screaming, and also, still got power left if you do need to overtake something, even in 6th gear. So I think that just says it all really about how capable this small displacement bike is, and I think just how capable all small displacement bikes are. You know, people definitely do underestimate them. I think the power to weight ratio as well. So this is only, I think, 168 kilograms, and once you take the stock exhaust off, that takes off an additional 2. Really, it's just a very lightweight bike, and that's why it does seem so rapid as well. Moving on to size and comfortability, I think the MT-03 is best suited for a shorter rider. So I'm 5'6". When my legs are on the pegs, you know, it's quite a neutral seating position. There's not too much tension on my knees or anything like that. So allegedly this thing does 74 miles per gallon. I managed to get 55. I think that's also dependent on what sort of a rider you are. So the 3 main reasons why I bought the MT-03 are the cost of it, how cheap it was to insure compared to things like a 500, and the seat height. So I struggled to get insured on the 500 because I've just got my A2 license. Yeah, they just didn't want to insure me. On paper, obviously this is a 321cc bike, but it's pretty much got the spec of a 500. You know, it's what, 6 horsepower less than the Honda CVF. That was my main reason for choosing it. I think the low seat height as well. So people often tell short riders that they are limited to cruisers, and I just think that is so untrue. And I can flat foot this, and I feel very confident on it. That was a big selling point for me, because it was a bit of an eye-opener. It was like, oh, so I'm not limited to cruisers then, I can experiment with different types of bikes. And I think the price, so I have the 2017 MT-03, and for the older gens, so 2017 to 2019, you're looking at around 2.5k to 3.5k, which I think is a very reasonable price for what you're getting. So would I recommend buying the MT-03 in 2025? Even though they've made quite a few new MT-03s, I do think the 2017 model is a good bike to go with. Like, yes, you don't have any fancy displays, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't perform exceptionally well, and it does all the basics that you need it to do. So when your oil change is due, it'll tell you on the dash, because it calculates it based on mileage, so it's every 3,000. You have your usual ABS lights, engine lights, so it just does the very minimum and the very basics, which I think for someone who, like myself, didn't need much, like this is all I needed. I have toyed with the idea of upgrading to the newer gen MT-03, but I'm going to be brutally honest, and this will sound very biased, but I do think they are ugly. I do think that the front end of the 2017 to 2019 model is just a lot more better. I just think it looks a lot prettier. I just can't get on with those small circular headlights on the new ones. I think they're just fucking ugly, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. So who is this bike for? I would say the MT-03 is for someone who is looking for their introduction into bigger bikes, and you want to slowly move up the power band, because the MT-03 is a very forgiving bike. It doesn't have like a snappy throttle or anything, no hidden surprises. But I do also think if you've got your full A license, you can still buy something like this, because you've seen it can keep up on the motorways. You've seen the decent amount of torque it has and the way it pulls and the way it can perform. So if you were sitting on the fence about whether or not the MT-03 is for you, I hope this video has at least answered some of your questions. But please let me know down below if you do have an MT-03, what you think of it. Do you think it's the bike for you, and would you recommend it? And in the next video, I'm going to be breaking down what the actual running costs are of this bike, from everything to fuel costs, maintenance, insurance, and everything in between. Yeah, so if you enjoy this type of content, please do subscribe, drop a like down below, and all feedback is welcome. You know, I'm still starting out on this journey. I'm still figuring out what sort of content suits me, and generally just how to structure these videos. I think I used to be a consumer for a very long time, so I didn't realise just how much effort and how much work goes into producing these types of videos. And now that I am making them, I can comfortably say they're hard work, you know, they're not easy. So any sort of support is really appreciated, and it helps me to continue making these sorts of videos, because if I know the sort of things that you guys want to see, I can then produce content around that. So yeah, thank you all for watching, and ride safe, and I'll see you in the next one. You didn't even f***ing look. What the f*** is this doing in front of me? Look how big the gap is. Well, we'll get to the test eventually when we can get off the slit road.
And now I can hear dogs barking. 1300-mile trip to John O'Groats.